Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Worried About Satan podcast. Today's guest is a guy called Ben, otherwise known as Cold Comfort. I've known him for quite a while now, and back when I used to live in Manchester, he's kind of one of those guys that you'd sort of see at shows a lot, or you'd see sort of writing about bits and bobs, or you'd sort of meet him online a little bit, I suppose. But it was only after I left Manchester and then Ben sort of moved on from Manchester as well that we sort of reconnected. And he writes for a blog called Birthday Cake for Breakfast, and he'd written about some Satan stuff. So yeah, when we played a show together last year in Shipley, I thought he was great, so I got him to sing on Tell It to the Mountain, which was a track from The Pivot. And it turns out that Ben is just like a really super nice dude, and we've got a lot of stuff in common, so like this was a really cool just like hour and a half chat, I think it was. We waffled on for ages, but anyway, I've sort of edited out the waffle, so yeah, here we go. This is the episode 2. The whole like podcast, I guess, is basically just like how a bit of a whinge, basically. Like the last one was just me and Tom just whinging for about 2 hours solidly, but obviously like a constructive whinge, like, you know, how you started, you know, how you're finding things, sort of like the biz, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess like as to go back to the start, like how did you sort of like get into like music?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it all just started very organically. Like, social media had such a huge part to play, didn't it? Really, like, obviously, I'm approaching my mid-30s now, so MySpace was my bread and butter. So yeah, just kind of putting stuff on MySpace and playing like pubs and stuff, and then kind of. I don't know. I think it was I lived in. I'm from Shropshire in the West Midlands.
Oh, okay.
So I used to go to like little club nights and little gigs and stuff with my sister and stuff, and there was a scene there, but it was just like teenagers, just kind of, you know, just being teenagers in the mid 2000s. You know, it was very kind of emo, indie, kind of tight jeans and, you know, weird accents and stuff. But so. It wasn't until I actually moved to Manchester that I actually started to properly kind of understand how it, like, the industry, inverted commas, sort of worked a bit, like, as in the bullshit of it as well. Kind of like
there's nothing else. Is there anything else apart from bullshit?
No, exactly. Yeah, I think that was because before I was just like, I don't really know how the fuck you get into this. I don't really know. Like, I was just, you know, trying to make music and playing gigs, and nothing was really coming from it, really. And then I met my friend Lucy, and we started a band called Bad Grammar. And then Bad Grammar were sort of around the time of all those like two-piece riff rock bands.
Right, yeah.
We were a rock band. Like fucking Slaves and Drenge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Wet Nuns, all those kind of bands. Goddamn. And they all kind of like, and we were kind of, you know, on a similar level with them. And then they all kind of went, and then we just sort of stayed still. And then we were kind of like, oh, actually, and to be fair, like a lot of really cool, weird, mad stuff happened in that time. We were only a band for like 4 years, but we did a lot in that time. And then that's when I started to kind of understand a little bit about sort of, right, okay. So I kind of, it's not what you know, it's like, you know. And so we had like friends who, you know, helped us out with like the releases, and we relied on, obviously, I still rely on weird, amazing people that put out, you know, music on bedroom labels and stuff. That it's a very rare breed of people that do that. Yeah, so that, yeah, it was kind of like in the early 10s where I started to really understand the mechanics of how to kind of get to places. And at the time I was doing a bit of press, I was doing a bit of writing. I still write for a blog called Birthday Cake for Breakfast.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? It's just kind of like, I kind of got an idea of what I was, of how it sort of worked a little bit, and then just kind of blagged it to the way I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that like I'm fucking raking it in and living my dream as a musician. Far fucking from it. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But I think like I've gotten to a point now where I know what I need to do and how I need to do it,
Yeah,
and
sure.
who
Yeah.
to talk to and how to, and then a lot of it. But then that's like the 10% of it. The 90% of it is luck. Isn't it, really?
Yeah. So like in that sort of time in Manchester, what was your sort of what did you feel about like Manchester at that point? Because like obviously we'd moved there from Leeds. And sort of started again, basically. We sort of touched down in like Ancoats and then wanted to like grow. I mean, it was ghosting season at that point, but like, kind of grow something out of Manchester.
Yeah, it did. Because like we were together, like Bad Grammar were a band for 4 years, but it felt like we were together for like 14 years. Like it was like a lot fucking happened in that time. We did a lot of really, really crazy stuff that I still look back and think, holy shit, yeah, I can't believe we did that. But like, it was really exciting. Like in the early 10s, like 2000, what were we active from? 2012, 2016. Man, it was crazy. Like there was so much going on and so many different types of bands as well. But it also seemed like there was like, a few bands that were like, on the precipice. Like we shared a practice room with a band called Pins.
Oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
Like a kind of sort of garagey sort of indie band.
Yeah.
And I remember being like hearing them on like Six Music and hearing them on the radio, and I was like, fucking hell, I just like shared a cab with them. It's just like it was just weird, like seeing. Like being in that scene and then like seeing like your friends do really well from it, and then going to like see your friends play live or people that you knew, acquaintances and stuff, and being like, holy fuck, this is actually like this is a thing. This is like something going on. And I don't want to sound mean. Maybe it's because I've moved out of Manchester, but I feel like that kind of, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think that really kind of petered off. Like after we stopped being a band, and I started a thing called Peaks, like another solo thing.
Oh yeah.
And I felt like from 2017 onwards, there just wasn't as many bands around. It just wasn't. Feel that it didn't have that kind of excitement that it used to.
Yeah, I was sort of going to ask you that actually, because I guess like kind of in the early sort of 10s and the late sort of, because Satan was sort of like going sort of a long time before that. I mean, we started in like 2006, so like we had like that kind of history of just about getting on MySpace, and there wasn't like SoundCloud or Bandcamp or like any of that. It was like pretty much you just went on tour or you just booked gigs, you pressed up a CD, and like tried to bully people to buy it like everywhere you went and stuff. So like the online thing, it was funny because like when we moved to Manchester and did like the whole Ghost and Season thing there, that probably felt like, okay, we start again now. So it feels like you've had sort of like two shots at starting a band, basically, but you sort of carried over like people that you knew from before, but you're bringing them into this new thing. I was gonna say like it felt, I don't know whether this is just me getting old or anything, but like you say, like in that sort of early 10s sort of time, it was like it was really buzzy. Like you could get on a couple of blogs, and you'd get a manager or something like that, or you'd get like a decent tour or a booking agent to start rigging you or something like that. It was really odd. And I don't really see that now, but I don't know if that's just me being an old fogey and not really seeing what's going on. But yeah, it definitely seems like something sort of changed, like you say, around like 2017, something like that. It's like things sort of started to peter off a little bit, and then I guess like venues and promoters are sort of calling it a day or shutting down. And yeah, I mean, I was thinking the other day, like, I don't know where I would go and play in Leeds, like right now. Whereas obviously when we started, it was like, every weekend you'd be out, every single week, you'd get back from work, you throw your stuff down, you get in the car, off you go. Whereas now I'd be like, I don't know, maybe like one or two venues I could probably see, you could get a gig at.
Yeah, I mean, do you get people messaging you saying like, "Hey, do you know any good promoters these days?" And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Not fucking really, man. Like, not to be a dick, but it's not that there aren't any good promoters. There's loads of fucking great ones, but there's so far few in between now. Like, no one wants to put shows on anymore. And I fucking get it, man.
Yeah.
I get why, but like someone's got to do it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd still be doing it if I didn't think that there were still people out there that wanted to hear it and wanted to embrace it, because I think, how like some people say like, oh, I'm just doing this for me. No, you fucking not. Like if do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
People say like, oh yeah, I just did this for me. No, you didn't. Like if you did it for you, no fucker would have heard it. No one would have heard it. And like, and I've at one point was like, I'm just gonna do like this for me. But it's like, no, don't do don't do that. Like, just, obviously do it because you want to do it. But then at the same time, it's sort of like, well, yeah, I think people will like this. That's what I think now. Like, you've got to have that kind of like that mentality, almost like that ego of being like,
it's like arrogance a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
but like sort of a good arrogance.
I think, yeah, good arrogance. Having an ego can be a healthy thing. It's when it kind of fucking, sort of bloats to the fucking equator of the earth that it's a problem, right? But like, yeah, like having a bit of one is good, because that's being a musician, isn't it? You're going like, this is good. I do want people to hear this, and I think people would like it. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, it is also just trying to find those people. I think the scene that we're in, the DIY scene, it is wonderful because, everybody has everyone's back, wants to help everyone up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, keeps these things going. But yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent. And as to why the kind of scene petered off in the late teens, I don't know. I wonder whether it's because I became just like an old, jaded sort of guy.
I catch myself thinking this a lot. Like, is it like that the Principal Skinner meme? Like, are there no bands? No, it's the children that are wrong. Like, it is kind of strange though, because like things seemed a lot more sort of open, like sort of back in the day. I guess with like just the way things are in this country, like places are going to shut down, or like there's just no money to do stuff, so people just aren't going to do it as often, and you mix that with a sort of like a general sort of antipathy towards this kind of thing, then yeah, you are going to get this kind of like
I was going to say, I think it's actually strangely weird, strangely strange how actually these days weird music is cool. Like, like you say, like bands like Sly and the Family Drone and stuff like that, like they can pull fucking big rooms now. Like, true. I think Leeds scene, think of all those bands in Leeds, like fucking Cattle and Thank and all those dudes, it's just like, and fucking Care Home and stuff, they can get good shows, and people are digging it and into it, and I do feel like we are at an interesting kind of caveat almost, where I feel like a lot of weirder music, it can go places. Like, I think also like, and I think that's what keeps me interested and excited, because you never really know what's around the corner. I mean, true. Like you and me doing that track earlier this year, go on fucking MTV Mexico. Like that's the coolest thing that's happened to me in my musical career in a while, and like I feel like, yeah, maybe just like it's changing now because, well, we are in a post-COVID world and no one has any money anymore, so therefore kind of like now playing a gig for me as well, it's like an event, true, like a real thing, like I don't tour, I can't fucking book a tour to save my life. Like, it doesn't happen. But like, I play a show every few months, and it's like it's a big fucking thing.
Yeah,
like,
sure, yeah.
Almost as big as like releasing a record now, like playing like the odd show here and there. So it's kind of, I just feel like maybe it's just, yeah, the dialogue of it has shifted a bit, like it's just becoming like it's coming more bespoke in like a great way. I don't know, that might sound
I know
weird.
what you mean. Yeah. I was sort of chatting to someone the other day it was annoying because they'd gotten like sort of stuff that I would like rip arms off for, like big tours, you know, the album on vinyl, big label, you know, this kind of thing. And they were kind of lamenting that and saying like, oh, I wish I could like just go back to my roots and do it like you do it. I was like, you fucking kidding me? It's like, it's so difficult and so hard. And you can swan off on like your 20-day tour around the UK and EU and do all that kind of business. And you'll never like sit down and think, fuck, I really shouldn't have pressed up, you know, 100 CDs because I can't sell them. I mean, they were dealing with like, you know, 500 splatter vinyl, you know, all this kind of thing. And I was just like, that sort of disconnect between like somebody who has managed to like find themselves in that sort of position and someone like us putting out tapes and, you know, funny t-shirts and stuff like that, because like, you know, we just kind of there's sort of nothing riding on it apart from our own enjoyment basically. So like, yeah, that's all it is for us. There's not like mega bucks in it, and there's not like, you know, we're not in it for big like careers. And well, I mean, would if if that opportunity came, but like, you know,
holy shit, I've been saying for years now, like, oh, you know, I just do it for the fun of it now. Like, you know, obviously I want people to hear it and I want people to buy the record. But like, you know, I'm not thinking about the bigger picture. Of course I'm thinking about the bigger picture. We all fucking are. We all dream about it every night. We want fucking some big to call up and say, hey, we've been watching you. It's time. You know, we all fucking want that. It's bollocks saying that we don't, because of course we do. But it's just like, I'm protecting myself by being like, do you know what? What I'm doing is fine. And the fact of the matter is, like I said earlier, if people weren't into it, I would not do it. You know, like the fact that there's just a small little niche of people that for some reason think what I do is cool, that makes my fucking, you know, that keeps me going.
Yeah, yeah. It's that sort of like, that tiny little like hook that keeps you going, like, because I don't know about you, but like every now and again, you know, I'll just sit down and think, oh fucking hell, what am I doing? Like, why am I even bothering with this? But then
every week,
but then you'll just have that like little morsel, or that tiny like little thing that'll just come along, and you'll be like, yeah, that's why I do it. That's the thing, right? That's the good shit. But yeah, so like, I guess following on from that as well, like, has it got like any easier or like any better in some respects, or do you still find it like fairly difficult to sort of like navigate around it, or a bit of a minefield?
Yeah, it is still a minefield, but there are some bits that are way easier than it used to be, and I think that's down to experience and me being in bands for like 10 years in the public eye that people know and people have actually paid money to like see and buy t-shirts of and stuff. You know, like, I think like the Cold Comfort I've only been doing it for 2 years, and I've done quite a lot in 2 years, and I think that is because I've done it all by myself. Like, I've had help from a little label, but kind of everything, you know, the way that I have structured everything has been just purely from my head. And I said to D-Daz Stir, who put out the earlier stuff, I've just said, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it. Yeah, what do you think? They've gone 100%, absolutely, yeah, whatever you want. And certain bits I think I find a lot easier. And also, you also kind of think, okay, well, I'm not going to spend 400-500 quid getting something mastered, you know, or like, you know, like getting a single track mastered, or I'm not going to spend, you know, a few grand like recording with you know, some fucking wicked producer that it would be amazing, but it's probably not a great idea financially to do that, you know, like, so it's like, okay, well, what have I got? What tools can I utilize? And I'm now finding it like I record everything myself. I'm learning a little bit more about mixing and mastering myself. You know, and my productivity levels are through the fucking roof. Like, I've released so much stuff over the last couple of years, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really happy about it. So I think that's it. I am learning more about how to kind of make music. Yeah. And or it's making it easier to put it out because I'm excited about it. I believe in it. I know where I'm going with it. And I think that's been the main thing is being fully sufficient on my own. Yeah, you know, sure, I always felt like I needed a band, or I needed a manager, or I needed don't get me wrong, it would be nice to have a manager and a booking agent and somebody to say, hey, we've got you this, and hey, we've got you that, and this works. But, you know, like, I think sometimes you've got to believe in what you're doing, and then sometimes it actually pays off. Like some people.
For real, yeah.
People can see through your bollocks as well, can't they? They can see through the bullshit. So I think, in terms of making music and releasing it, it has gotten easier. In terms of who listens to it and how they listen to it, that's fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's a total lottery of who's going to cover it, if it's going to get any radio play. Like, I released a single last year. It got on the Amazing Radio.
Oh, right,
A-list. And it was played all the time, and I got on loads of radio stations, like in Germany and France and Switzerland and everywhere, like loads of places. I was like, and I didn't even know how it was happening, but it just was. And then I released an album this year, and I got nothing. Like, I got a couple of reviews. I got some really great reviews, like The Wire and Jimmy Watkins, who does the Red Bunks thing.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which it's fucking amazing. But it was just like, don't get twisted. I'm grateful for anything I get, but it was just weird how it works. Sometimes. It's a fucking lottery. Like, I released a single 12 months ago, and it's like, oh shit, everyone's listening to it and it's doing well. I released an album a year later, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's all right. People listen to it. It's dependent on what is happening around the time as well, like what's happening at the time and what else is out and what's new and what's not new. And yeah, it is a minefield. It is. To say, I said earlier, it is still a minefield.
Yeah, I get that as well, because like I've had stuff where even with like the pivot, I spent like months and months, making like a big like spreadsheet and getting all the press materials together and sending it out and making sure like people had it and stuff. And then when it came out, it was like, oh, okay, like one review, and then that was it. And it was, and I wrote something actually the other day about like the kind of shrinking like release windows. I don't know if you find this, but like, because people always say like, oh, you always put like loads of stuff out. And I'm like, well, I guess, but like I'm just sort of being realistic, because when I put something out, I've got at best maybe 2 or 3 days where anyone's going to give a shit, and then basically like sort of on the Monday or the week after, that's it, it's gone. It might as well not have even been there. Like, it's gone, see you later, we're off for the next one. And I'm like, that's cool that you guys are listening, or some people have bought it, and it might pop up on a radio station here or a little review there. That's great, that's wicked. But like, that's the reason why I have to do like 4 albums in a year, because like nothing ever seems to like stick. And like in sort of like DIY stuff, there is only so many gigs you can go and play. Like, I can't play the Shipley Triangle again because I've already done it. I've already done it once, and once is like enough for a year. Like, I can't drag all my mates out to come and see me again unless I book somebody else to come play with me or something. Like, and there's only so many times you can play in like Bingley and Bradford and like all these kind of like local places. So what does that leave me with? Well, okay, I just have to put something else out then, And if it's just me and my computer, then yeah, okay, I know enough about like what I want to do and how to record it that I guess it is pretty easy to just like sit there, make some stuff, and then sort of like release it.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? Because you're so right. Like the release window is so fleeting, and that's why I've been so productive myself. Because you have like a few weeks, not even that, maybe a week at best, where it's like, okay, here we go, it's go time. Everyone's excited, and then it's like, oh yeah, it's gone. Whoa, what did I? You're like, oh shit, okay, oh right, okay, yeah, it's been out for a week now. No one gives a shit. But then in the same breath, I think that's relevant of kind of everything, because I think that's why my music collection is so massive, because I'm kind of like everyone else, where I like, oh my god, there's a new such and such record out, I'm gonna have to buy this, and then I buy it and I listen to it for a week, and then I'm like, oh right, okay, what's next? Like, what's the next thing that I want to listen to? And I think it's probably because people aren't playing live as much. People are creating much more music. People are creating a lot more And I think it's hard not to be absorbed by that as a musician when you see bands releasing, like, oh, we've got an album out, then we're going to release an EP, then we're going to release another album.
Yeah.
And, I see you, and I'm, I can genuinely say this, not to blow smoke up your ass, but whenever you release new music or a new record, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to hearing it. And it makes me want to go, all right, okay, well, let's fucking do it. Let's make another record, and I think that's it, isn't it? It's just sort of like, it's this sickening hunger to keep going, isn't it? It's like, that you shouldn't, but it's all you can fucking do. Do you know what I mean?
That's a really good point, actually, because I remember a time in, like, I think it was like 2007, 2008, maybe, I can't remember. And I was working a really shitty job in Leeds, and it was in a bank, and it was awful. And we'd put like the first Satan record out, and I distinctly remember getting a copy of The Wire and Plan B and all these other sort of like little bits and bobs, and I sat down and I was like, don't you worry, Gav, don't you worry, because I'm gonna get this CD, and once they hear this CD, that's it. Like, shoot for the stars. And it's like 20 years later, I'm still like kind of thinking, well, I don't know, maybe someone at Warp might be interested. You never know, I'll just send this demo to like demos at Ninja Tune, because you never know. And it's like, you idiot. Of course you know.
But then, I do think that it is getting better for DIY. Like, I do think like there are small independent labels that are getting really good traction, like Wrong Speed Records. Getting like really good traction at the moment. Like, there is a real niche for certain things these days, and it's I think that's it. You just kind of have that little thing in the back of your head that's just like, I think this might happen, this might be the one. But then even if it isn't, it's just somebody saying that's really good. For me go, well, then that's fine. As long as you like it, random person from, in America, then I'm all yours, man.
It's sort of nice to like sit and daydream sometimes about like Mr. Bigwig at like EMI or something, or like Warp, or like one of these guys, like sort of, oh, imagine if I was on there, oh, brilliant, amazing. But then like it sort of takes a lot for you to like, it's not very healthy to keep doing that. Like, to sort of like keep daydreaming. You need to like sort of like, well, that's all very well and good, like sitting and daydreaming and stuff, and but it's the other shit that really counts, that really matters. And like over time, you sort of, it's hard to just like break it into your head and say like, that kind of shit just doesn't matter. Like, as long as you are happy with what you're doing and you are kind of like believing in what you're doing, and you've got a nice little tight sort of group of people around you that like it, you can sort of like write off a lot of the bollocks and a lot of the bullshit and just be like, well, at the end of the day, I've got me and my guys, and that's cool.
Oh man, it's 100%. I completely agree with that. I think like that's it. Sometimes you got to wake up and smell the coffee and be like, do you know what? It's not going to happen. As much as I, in the back of my head, think, oh, I'd love it. And I guess that will always be the thing that does kind of keep me going in some regards. But particularly starting Cold Comfort, it's been like, do you know what? This is really fun. Like, some guy from The Wire got in touch randomly out of nowhere in January and just put me in the magazine on the strength that he liked it.
Yeah, that's wicked,
There was no fucking change in the hands. There was no fucking press X breathing down his neck. He found it on Bandcamp. He thought it was cool. Way. He wrote a really nice review about it. And it's just like, man, that's all I fucking need. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just a bit of validation. Just a small amount of validation. And that will fucking keep me going for a while. My little sister, who's like, she's very honest, and, and my wife as well is like almost annoyingly honest. Like, I really value their opinion, because even though I get annoyed when they tell me, oh no, I'm not sure about this, or I'm not sure about that, I'm glad they did, because they know me so well, and they know what's good and they know what's not good. And when I played Abby like the Cold Comfort EP, she was like, oh my god, this is you. And I was just like, well, I'm going to put it out, because she's given me the go ahead. And like over the years, like she's such a an amazing partner. Like, she's so long suffering, like, you know, have all with my shit, and she's so supportive. But she knows that, like I was saying earlier, it's all I can do. It's all I want to do. It's all that's great. So when I actually do something with meaning, she'll always be like, "Yeah, you should put that out, and you should let people hear it, because I think this is decent." You know? So,
well, that's wicked, man. Yeah. I know we've talked like about like sort of ups and downs of being like sort of DIY and doing everything, but like for your money, what's been the worst gig you've ever done?
God, I don't know. Which is good that I don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I've had like loads of moments where I've gone, oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But I think the weirdest moment that I had, where it was like, fuck's sake. I remember me and Luce, my friend Luce, we were in Bad Grammar together. I remember saying we had a show booked, and we used to play like every weekend for like 3-4 years. Every single weekend we would be away, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, and then we'd have a show in the week in Manchester, or we'd have a show in a week somewhere in London. We'd have to do London all the time, because, you know, London's where everybody is and stuff. So we did London a lot. I mean, I'm not complaining too much about that, because that was really fun. But there was some times where I was like, oh my God, I can't be bothered tonight. I just want to chill out and and she was like, yeah, I know, dude. She was like, be all right, be fun. We get there, we'll have a good time. We got there, and everyone was really nice. All the support bands, we were headlining, so all the support bands were really excited that we were playing. It was really weird. It was the first time ever where, like, you know, usually we'd support a band and be like giddy kids, like, oh my God, band. But it was like the other way around. We were like, what the fuck, this is weird. But we were really stoked. Like, I was like, oh, do you know what, this is going to be really fun, because people are actually here to see us, and the kids that we're playing with are really nice. And the headline band comes on, the room's really full, and everyone's really excited, and people coming up to us being like, hey, looking forward to set. And I'm like, this is going to be great. And then about 20 police officers raid the room.
Jesus! Oh my God!
The gig room. And this guy goes, stop the music. And this guy comes on stage, like the sort of chief police guy, and he's like, this gig's being shut down. We have to investigate this venue right now. This is a bust, basically.
Fucking hell.
So turns out that the dude that was running the venue was also a dealer, and was selling had a side hustle selling pints and other things as well.
Oof.
And over the bar as well, quite openly. And it was funny, because I remember being in the toilet and then hearing like a bunch of dudes giggling in the urinal, in the cubicle, as you do, you know, when you're out and about. But then it kind of clicked in that every time I went into the toilet, like, and it was early, so I was just like, oh, there's something going on here. Yeah, it turns out the dude was just fucking dealing out of his bar, which is, you know, why not? But anyway, he got like, and he was lovely. Like, we met the dude as well. He was so, we played at this venue a few times. He was so nice and so accommodating.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, you know, it is dealing drugs, isn't it? So he went to jail. You know, you can't do it in this country. It's illegal. Who knew?
Who'd have thought?
Basically, I think they were trying to get all this evidence together that it was happening, and then they just like arrest him there and then. So we were just about to play, and the gig got shut down, and we lived in Manchester, so we didn't have to come too far, but we were just like, fucking hell, like, I was being grumpy. I was like, I want to come here anyway. I want to play this anyway. And I remember, like, in fact, me and Luce went to a gig together the other week, and we were reminiscing about this show, because a police officer, like, was just one of the bods that was just there just to kind of oversee things, was like, oh, sorry that you're not playing your gig, you know, just kind of trying to make like a bit of light-hearted chatter. And I was like, yeah, you should be fucking sorry, because we've come all the way to fucking Manchester to play, and now we're not going to get paid, and we're not going to be able to play, and it's fucking inconvenient, to be honest, mate. And Lucy was like, shut up, you're going to get questions. And but like, the promoter was really nice, and like, you know, hooked us up, and it was, you know, it was all good in the end. But it was it was a weird fucking moment.
Yeah, I'll
Like a
bet,
really that was definitely one of their just such a array of emotions. Like, oh, I'm really excited about this gig. Oh no, I can't be bothered with this gig. Now I'm really excited about it. Oh my god, what the fuck just happened?
Was that in London?
know?
Did you say?
That was in Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
in Liverpool, yeah. And in
That's
fact,
so bad.
we never had good gigs in Liverpool because the first time we played in Liverpool, my guitar got stolen like as we were
fuck.
loading into the venue.
Oh my god.
It's a fun story to tell.
Yeah.
And we were in the next day. It was a venue called the Lomax, and it was on the front cover of the Echo, the Liverpool
Fucking
Echo,
hell.
and it was like, great venue. It's a great venue as well. Closed down, drugs bust, all gone to pot. And there's a fucking massive like A1 poster of like me and Lucy on the front of the venue, like Black Grammar tonight, and we were like, man, and hilariously, actually, it was Tom and Ben from Alpha Male Tea Party that like messaged me being like, this is fucking hilarious. And I was like, yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you think so.
No way, that's
I laugh now, but at the time I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention Liverpool because do you remember a band called Purity Ring?
Yes, I do.
They were like sort of
Never got into them.
like witch housey, that kind of.
Yeah.
And they were like, and this must have been about like 2012 or something, right at the height of their sort of like buzzy sort of like powers. And we were booked to play in Liverpool with them, and we were like, this is gonna be fucking mint. This is at the Casimir, great promoters, big band. The tickets are sold out like months ago, or whatever. And then I'm sure it was like a day or two before the actual gig. And the promoter emailed me and said, oh yeah, I got some bad news. Their Purity Ring's booking agent has now just randomly thrown on this tour support act. And I was like, so we can't, you're not going to be able to play. So I was like, absolutely fucking gutted. I was like, oh. And then I was like, look, can we just come and DJ? Or do something. Can you just put our name on the poster, because that's pretty much all that counts. Like at the minute, like we just need a bit of. If we're not being allowed to play, can we just come and do something then? Can we be involved somehow? We just need our name like next to it then. And he said, yeah, sure, just come and DJ. So we're like, okay, cool. So we got to the Casimir, and it was fucking rammed. It was like, it was unreal, and I was like, you motherfuckers! This like fucking stupid shitty band from Canada or wherever they are, like coming and just completely ruined like everything. I think it was just before they were going to go on, and we were just like sat in like up at the top, I think, which is where the DJs were setting up, and we were just like having fun, just sort of like playing some tunes, and then I think it was the lead guy from this support band, whoever it was, came running up the stairs with one of the dudes from Purity Ring. He was absolutely trashed out of his mind. He was just like, yeah, man, this is great. Oh, do you mind if I like DJ tonight? And I never get like sort of angry or sort of bullish at gigs, because I always think like, you've got that sheen of professionalism. You can never sort of like, go too arsey with someone. I would just let him have it. I was like, you've got to be taking the piss, mate. And I looked him like sort of dead in the eye, and I was like, no, sorry, mate. Like we're booked for DJing tonight. We were supposed to play until you showed up. So yeah, we're gonna be DJing. And like, I felt really proud of myself for like standing up to him, going like, "Fuck you, man!" Like
Yeah, that's something that really bugs me. It's just like there's also this real like, I don't know, just irritating like part of the industry where it's like saying that's not what you know, it's who you know, where just all these fucking stupid shit little bratty bands full of all these stupid little fucking trust fund pricks just like oh, that's great, you're touring like fucking the UK on this like massive like tour, and you're like having the greatest time of your life, and it's just like, it's not fair sometimes.
Yeah.
But that was it. That you met so many bands. Like there was another band that are done quite well and stuff over the years. And like I remember, like getting on. One minute I'd get on really well with them, and we'd play a show with them, and it'd be great. And then the next minute they'd be really off and weird and like distant. And then you'd be like, "Oh my god, I don't understand."
Yeah, I think I had that quite a bit as well, especially in the ghosting season days when I mean, we were on a fairly decent label and had a bit of like press stuff going on, so we weren't like super low on the rung, but we weren't super high either, because we didn't have like an agent and we had a really shit manager and stuff like that. So it was sort of like in this weird like middle ground where you know, you still want it to be sort of driven and be like, oh, I want to play this, I want to do that, I want, you know, this, that, and the other. But at the same time, you'd see bands that you sort of came up with that would just look like they were just coasting right on up, and you'd be like, how the fuck have you done that? Like, I've spent like 10 years trying to get to this like sort of level, and like you guys are just like, yep, see you, bye. And then like to have to see them as well, sort of not fuck it up, but like, you know, whinge about like, oh, we were in the studio one day, and I'm like, oh, were you now? Yeah, you're in the studio, were you? Oh, my heart bleeds for you.
I can't afford the studio.
Exactly. And then they were like, oh god, the label guy's being a real arsehole. Oh, is he? The label guy being a dickhead, is he? Oh, well, what a shame. I'm sure it's horrendous for you. And like to watch them just like sputter out, and then they sort of just finish, and you're like, oh man, you were on like a fucking amazing label, and you were like doing these huge world tours, and like you couldn't just keep it together for more than 18 months or something. What the fuck? And you just
I know, man. It's just annoying because it happens so often.
Yeah.
Like it happens time and time again, and it's just so irritating because it's like, you know, like. But there's so many fucking incredible bands that work so fucking hard, that are so good at what they do, so professional, take everything in their stride, deserve everything that's coming to them, and everything good that's coming to them, and then like it just doesn't happen for them, and it's like, where's the fucking justice, man?
I get it, and it's funny, like now and again I'll sort of like go back through old like press clippings or like just reminisce about like the old days, and I'm like, oh yeah, shit. Or like I'll find like a gig poster or something, and I'll be like, oh yeah, whatever happened to them? And it'll be like, shit, do you remember them? And then you look at like some remixes you did, because it's still listed on like on a Boomcat or something, and you're like, oh yeah, fucking hell, do you remember them? And it was just like, it's just this endless parade of like, do you remember them bands? Because like at one point they were absolute the hottest shit in the world, and everybody was like, you know, creaming their pants, and then like literally sort of a year later just gone, vanished off the face of the earth. Like you can't even find some of the remixes we did because the bands were dropped so hard and the blogs all like folded, and so you just think, oh well, okay, that was a complete waste of everyone's time. And then like, you know, what the fuck? And it's just so weird seeing the sort of like weird time capsules of like these bands that like burn so bright, and then just that was it, dropped, gone, like no one cares. And then
there's definitely some stuff to tell the grandkids. Well, I don't think the grandkids will be interested in the time we opened for We Were Promised Jetpacks in 2012.
Well, you never know.
You know, I'm fucking gonna tell that story.
You always have that one though in your back pocket where you're like, yeah, well, check this out. And recently, it's been like when we opened. No, we were headlining in Leeds in 2007, I think it was. And we used to hang around with this like little collective from Wakefield. And there was a band called Everybody Is Going to Die, and they had 3 drummers, and they made a right racket, but it was really good, like sort of riffy, a little bit post-hardcore-y stuff, but you know, the sort of like maybe like a Queens of the Stone Age style riff, and it was just like 3 drummers like going apeshit. And we used to hang around with them. We used to play like a couple of gigs, and there was another guy that did some electronic stuff that we used to play with a little bit as well. And then on the poster, it's like, Worried About Satan, some guy, Everybody's Gonna Die, then opening Krillix, and that's Bobby Krillix, who's now the Hacks and Cloak and like doing fucking DC movies and stuff like that. And so every now and again, I'm like, I can't actually remember meeting him or speaking to him, but holy fuck, that looks cool that like me and him are on the same fucking like poster. That's insane. And like every sort of year or so, I'll remember that I have it on my phone somewhere, the poster, and I'll just whip it out and stick that on Instagram. Like, yeah, just reminiscing about the time that we played with a little lone dude called the Hacks and Cloak, and like, obviously, like at the time it was just some guy from Wakefield, like, but yeah, it's always good to, keep those little things.
Yeah, I think, well, there's going to be hopefully like a cassette release at some point soon. A little label I've been working with, they're going to put out the album on cassette, like a compilation. So like one side will be the album, the other side will be a bunch of stuff that I've put out. And then I've been kind of swimming in your waters actually, and been sort of like producing sort of more like ambient soundscapey stuff, which is really fun. I really enjoy doing lots of kind of stupid improvised kind of synthy things, lots of, you know, me just kind of messing around with delay pedals and stuff, and it's nowhere near as chiseled or as well thought out as what you do. I wish I could do, but it's, you know, I'm enjoying it, and I'm hopefully gonna put out like something like like a soundscapey ambient record before the year closes. Yeah, just as you say, just try and put as much out as I humanly
throw it all against the wall, see what.
Exactly, just fucking throw it all against the wall and see what sticks. And before everyone is disinterested, which will be imminent, I'm sure.